And thus, Bushiroad took a look at all the other card games that basically released their entire set list 1 week later and thought, we could do that too. Hola! Today we're going to be taking a look at all the news for overDress over this past week, including of course all the remaining cards for D-BT01 because the entire set list is finally out. So we actually know the entire set list. A lot of people have been playtesting already and already gearing up for Springfest and things like that and just enjoying overDress as a whole. I can tell you already it is super fun. I've been enjoying it a whole lot and I've got a lot of content in the works for you guys, both for the people that are just, already playing Vanguard and hype for overDress, but also a lot of beginner friendly content. So look forward to that. As always, if you still need to pick up any overDress product, head over to parkage.com and use discount code DifferentFight. I think they might still have some of these special bundles in stock where you get one of each starter decks as well as a booster box, and we now know the ratios of the booster boxes too. So this got confirmed on stream to be 5 insert holos. So holos are like basically foil versions of commons or rares. So 5 holos, 1 over trigger, 5 double rares, 4 triple rares, and 1 SP per box. So basically in your 16 packs you'll always have at least one foil thing, whether it's one of the holos or an overtrigger or a triple rare or a double rare or an SP. There is always going to be a hit in every single pack, and that is super duper exciting. So of course pick up your product because goddamn bro, they actually put 4 triples in a box. That's almost half of all of the triples, which means that if you buy a case, I'm gonna hold off on saying this for now, but we're gonna find out the case breaks in like a day or two, but hopefully we get like 8 of each triple rare, which means like 2 splits per case would be pretty hot. So fingers crossed. We're gonna find out in just a couple days, so look forward to more information in my Discord or on my Twitter on fast information. Otherwise I'll tell you about it next week. And would you believe it, it seems that we've gone back up to almost 35% of y'all that watch these videos that aren't actually subscribed. So if you like what I do, if you like what you see over the weeks of the content that I put out on the DifferentFight channel, please feel free to show some support just by subscribing. It always means a lot. I am trying to reach some big numbers this year thanks to overDress, so your support is very much appreciated. Anyway, let's run through the news that they announced today on the stream and then go through all the remaining cards from the first booster set. Next week we're going to have some token Rambo reveals as well as the visual for the Monster Strike collab, which I'm pretty hyped to see actually, because we've known about that for like over a year now, but literally no other information. I might just have to start a new gacha game if that's actually really good or something, and if they have a Vanguard collab in their game too. So in terms of merch, they showed some things for Daivangasai, the big Vanguard festival happening in May. So they're actually doing acrylic sort of like stands for all of the 10th anniversary artworks. These are super beautiful. When they got revealed, I was super duper hyped because these just look so clean. The Lukier one, the Overlord one, the Chaos one, the Night Rose one, like all of them look so beautiful. They were drawn by the artists of these units for the 10th anniversary and they just look fantastic. On top of that, they're doing these like kind of like badges. So like, they say different things like Vanguard or like Diablos, like Dark States' Diablos and things like that. They're kind of like title cards. And then they also have these like acrylic pass and card cases for some Zero designs as well as the overdress designs. So that was some new merch they announced. They've been kind of announcing merch almost every week lately, which is definitely nice. I feel like we were lacking merch in the V series. I wanted to buy more merch and stuff, but there just wasn't much, and now finally we actually have something from the 10th anniversary and they just keep on going with it. We got some Zero news as well. They announced the next rank season, which is going to be Dragonic Overlord the Rebirth. So this is of course the final form of Dragonic Overlord at the end of the Link Joker season, so it looks pretty beautiful. I like the original art a lot more personally. It still looks pretty cool, and it's I think the same artist as well if I'm not mistaken, but it's pretty nice. But at the very least, if you didn't get it from the gacha, you can always get extra copies, and also if you did get 4 copies in the gacha, you can always grind for 1 just to dust your other copy in order to actually have more Kagero materials, which is also nice. They also showed this month's seasonal event for Zero, which is a Easter themed one with an exclusive Ren as well as Emmy skin that you see right here. So they're in their sort of bunny outfits. It's a little bit weird because this starts in 3 days and Easter has been already over for like 2 weeks, which is a little bit weird in terms of timing, but I guess we'll take it. The skins do look very nice and very cute. I kind of like the Sakura event from last year more with like Reka and Kamui, but I mean, we'll take it. And outside of the box ratios that we talked about earlier, that's basically it for the non-card related news. So now let's take a look at a recap of all the cards that have been revealed over this last week, including of course the full set list dropping just yesterday, I think. So this was a double rare, which is Inheritance Maiden Hendrina. So she has 2 skills. First skill is when placed on rearguard circle, so whether from hand or from the top of the deck or from the drop zone, you may send the top 3 cards of your deck to your drop zone. So mill 3 just like that. In Zorga, this is super key because you need to mill your orders in order to alchemagic them away and things like that. So that self mill is really good. You also can hit specific targets to actually like revive, or worst case scenario, you mill 3 triggers, including your over trigger and cry. But you know, even then, it's still very good, you know, to have that mill. Her second skill is also quite good. It says cost retire this unit until the end of turn. The next time you would perform alchemagic with an order card, you may choose not to pay its soul blast cost. So this is pretty good because we have that grade 1 that says soul blast 1, revive something and give it 5k. So you basically don't pay soul blast for that, which is nice. Like, you might be thinking, oh, it's just soul blast 1, like what's the big deal? It does add up every turn because you do soul blast for other effects as well. And so for that reason, I think it's definitely very nice. But in case you do need a bit more soul, and particularly in Magnolia, they revealed another order for Stoichia, which is Tears of Malice. So this is a grade 2 order, and it says retire 2 of your rear guards. Then you draw 1, put this order into the soul, and countercharge 1. So this gives you a draw. It gives you a counter charge and a soul charge because it puts itself into the soul. In Zorga, that doesn't feel as necessary. I still run it myself because I think it's good to have every now and again. If you alchemagic it away, the order that you alchemagic this into goes into the soul itself, so you don't get that into the drop zone, so keep that in mind. But I think especially in Magnolia, this is kind of nice. Like, you can run more draw triggers, so you can like put your draws down, retire them, and basically get counter charge and soul charge, because especially in Magnolia, that you lack those resources the most, I feel. Magnolia is a pretty cool deck. Like, I do like it, and I learn more about it the more I play it, but I definitely feel like it lacks like that kind of resource safety or security the most out of all the decks right now, and so this kind of helps it. So I've been trying it in Magnolia myself over the last few days, but it's still a really nice order nevertheless. Although -2, you know, to draw 1 is a little bit, you know, a little bit yikes, or -3 technically because it's a card from hand that you're putting away as well. So -3 for draw 1, not super great, but overall it's still an okay card. Then of course the triple rare that I was waiting for this entire time, the Brandt Gate support, actually finally got revealed. And so this is Aurora Battle Princess Agara Rouge. So she's a grade 2, and her skill is continuous rearguard circle and guardian circle. If 2 or more of your opponent's cards are imprisoned in your prison, this unit gets power plus 5k and shield plus 10,000. This is nice because until now, your opponent would always like give you 2 prisons, but not 3, so you don't get the drive check. So now I wonder if people are going to start like, you know, because I played tested this card a lot myself, but people generally didn't like not give me 2 to not get this extra power or extra shield, but they did not give me like, you know, the third one to not get the drive. And her second skill is when she's placed on rearguard circle, soul blast 1, choose an opponent's front row rearguard and imprison it in your prison. So it's kind of like security patroller, but restricted to front rows, and you know, instead of not having any other ability, she also gets the extra power and the defensive power as well. So I really like her. When I was playtesting this card in the deck, I really felt that there were situations where I didn't even want to call it. Like, my opponent I had 2 things imprisoned, and I just wanted to keep it in my hand because that way I could actually like guard with it. But then of course, if they free the stuff from the prison, then you lose that like 15k beater power. But the 15k beater is really nice because this deck, like I said before, can only make like maximum 23k columns without persona writing on the rearguard circles, and this luckily is another way to make those 23k columns to keep bashing your opponent and asking for 15k shields, and that is definitely very nice. You know, from playtesting a lot of the Brandt Gate, you know, the Seraph support, I've definitely felt like this deck is sort of very meta reliant. So like, if the meta is all the arena, this deck will be very good and top a lot. But if the meta is like Barrow Magnus, then it's going to struggle a lot because Barrow Magnus can clear its own board very easily and leave a field of like 1 rearguard and that's it. So I think Seraph Snow's like viability in the meta will really depend on what's popular. It's very similar to Shadowverse, right? Where you'll have like a super aggressive deck be meta in the first week, then a deck that can like kind of sustain past that and like counter it through just like being tanky will become meta after that. And then the deck that used to get beaten by aggro will become meta. And so it's this kind of like, you know, ongoing like just twist and turn, like the meta changes every week and like every deck just goes on top of each other and you never know what's best, so you always have to be playtesting. I like that. I personally like that, and it goes to show that like Mori is coming in from Shadowverse, right? And that was basically how Shadowverse has always worked for a very long time, and I think that it's nice that we kind of get that. They also previewed the kind of like new sort of aesthetic for Keter Sanctuary. So this is witches. So literally says in Japanese they're majo, so it's going to be a witch support for Keter Sanctuary. So whether this will be like Genesis witches or OTT witches, doesn't really matter, it's still Keter Sanctuary, but I guess it might be a whole new archetype or maybe just 1 card. We'll find out very soon. Then we have some Dragon Empire support, and this felt very necessary. We got the final double rare for Dragon Empire, which is a grade 1 called Stealth Dragon Tencha. Stoichia. His skill says when an attack this unit boosted hits, count +1 and retire him to choose one of your Vanguards and reveal a card of the same name as that card from your deck, add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. So you basically get to search for Persona rides, which is really, really good. The only problem is that this costs count +1 and the on-hit pressure is really nice, but the one counterblast is kind of yikes because in Nirvana you really don't have counterblast. You counterblast for so much stuff in the Trickstar deck. It's just crazy, honestly. Like in Eugene, this is good. Eugene doesn't counterblast that much because it, you know, most of its cost is in the soul, but I think in Eugene this is nice as like a way to make sure you can always Persona ride as long as this attack hits. But in Nirvana, like I think you have to still play this as like a 2-of because you don't really have much space for other things, and it's still a good card, but you'll always have to think about like, do I want to sink my counterblast into this, or do I want to just keep it like in the field to pressure my opponent to like want to guard this attack or not? In my opinion, the actual amazing card that got revealed that day was the Rush Dragon Tribash. So this is a grade 3 for Dragon Empire, specifically for Eugene, which says when your Vanguard attacks, if your opponent has 2 or less rear guards, put this unit to your soul to give your Vanguard +1 crit until the end of that battle. This gave Eugene the pressure that it lacked, and after testing this, Eugene feels really good. Like that deck feels super smooth now. You do run 4 of this in my opinion because you need to be hitting it every single turn for that crit pressure to make your opponent guard that Eugene and just like push out shield from their hand, so you're not just like retiring and filling your board. The deck is already pretty cool because it like filters so much and like gets to like control your opponent's board and all that stuff, but now you have that crit pressure that you really need in this deck, and I'm really glad to see it. Then we got another surprise reveal, which was the useful Recharger, which is basically support for Orfist. So this guy says when you guard with him or when he's put on Guardian Circle, count +1, and if your world is a Dark Knight, this unit gets shield +5000 until the end of that battle, and if your world is a Abyssal Dark Knight, then he gets +10k shield instead. So 15k shield for count +1. At first I was like, is this that good? But actually it's really good in Orfist. Like Orfist is pretty simple in what it does, right? It just generates tokens, and it's all about like not having to call from hand because you make tokens onto the field. But because of that, you have space for these kind of defensive cards, and your hand is oftentimes bigger than your opponent's. So if you have tanky cards like this, you can out tank a lot of opponents' decks while having a huge like powerful field on your own side, right? Because just 2 tokens is like 30k power already. You can pair that up with like a 13k grade 3 and, you know, swing for a good like, you know, 28 or like 38 if you're on a Persona ride, which is like powerful columns. You run a bunch of crits, and then you have these defensive cards to survive your opponent's stuff. I think Orfist might not be too bad, to be honest. There was also, you know, an order card revealed for Brandt Gate that please don't look at this one's art for too long because you might spot something that might have you saying no way, no way, no way. So this thing is called Lightning Barrier Urgent Deployment, and it's a blitz order, and it says count +2 as the cost, which is pretty damn big. Choose one of your Vanguards and gets power +30,000 until the end of that battle. So this is basically count +2 for a crit Sentinel from back in the V series. So I like the level of power defensively, but it feels the most like restricted in terms of like these blitz orders, right? Every other nation got a 15k blitz order that was super easy to achieve, right? I kind of expected the Brandt Gate one to be like, if you have a set order 15k shield, but no, this one is 30k and it's kind of +2, which is like, in Brandt Gate, you're like the only, well, you're not the only, but you have the most accessible countercharger in like all of the nations, but at the same time it's a little bit rough, I would say. Like especially in Orfist, this counterblast 2 is really kind of heavy because you're already counterblasting a lot. In Seraph Snow as well, like you want to counterblast for your draw effects, but I don't know, maybe it's worth trying out, but I think this one might be a little bit overcosted. I'd rather run the useful Recharger we just take a look at it instead. And then after the anime episode, some people spotted a Dark States card we hadn't seen before, and this was the Shadow Leak Magician, and she's pretty simple. Rearguard Circle, this unit cannot be chosen by opponent's card effects. So she's literally just a resist. Just resist on Rearguard Circle in Dark States, and that's good because Brandt Gate cannot imprison those cards, Eugene cannot retire those cards. Of course, the Bastion grade 3 order that like puts a column to the bottom of the deck can, because it doesn't choose, it targets a column, not a unit, so that's a different thing. So it's a pretty decent card. It might be played depending on how the meta evolves. We're gonna find out. And then this is where the set got revealed, the entire set list dropped, and we found out everything. And so let me quickly run through this. I have this, you know, just on my tablet here in terms of all the new cards, because a lot of stuff is very similar. So a couple of weeks ago we saw a Dark States card that said like when it boosts gains 2k, so like a 10k booster, and I didn't think too much of it, but turns out every nation has one of them. So here's one for Dragon Empire. It's this like, I guess like, yeah, dragon dinosaur looking thing. Then for Brandt Gate, it's this like kaiju looking thing. There's a lot of kaijus in Brandt Gate for sure. Then there was one for Keter, of course, this little like, you know, lady knight, I guess. Not really sure what else to say about that one. Then there's this like creepy ghost looking dude for Stoichia. And so every single nation got one of those, which is nice. And at first I was like, these seem like filler, but then I was like, actually, hold on. In Dragon Empire, this is a 10k booster for Verina Valiente, which is pretty damn big. And also in Hexa Orb, or in Hexa Orb specifically, you can make the double rare grade 3 that countercharges soul charges into a 23k column as well. So they're actually pretty useful. I think in some decks these will be played a lot actually. So I was like, yeah, these are actually good cards too. Then of course, as I've been saying for a while, each nation got a second pair of triggers, you know, so each trigger type got a second type. So we have, for example, here the Dragon Empire ones, we have the crit. Well, the crit is kind of like a thunder dragon fish looking thing. The draw is a dinosaur. The front looks like a Murakumo unit, and then the heel is this precious looking dinosaur. Then for dark states, we have a crit that looks like Black Widow. Then we have a draw that looks like a Dark Irregulars unit. We have a front that looks like a Spike Bros card for sure, and a heel that looks very Gear Chronically. Then for Brandt Gate, of course, we got the ones more themed after Orfist. So we have the Orfist crit. So these are very Link Joker looking. We got the draw, we have the front as well. This one looks very cool. And the heel, oh my god, the heel looks in particular very, very beautiful and spicy. I like this one quite a lot. Then for Keter Sanctuary, we have this very nice looking one for Keter Sanctuary, which looks like kind of like an OTT card with the doggos in the back. Very sweet. We have the draw trigger, the bow user here. The front looks like a Genesis card as well, and the heel looks like a witch maybe, or a Magus card, so that's also quite nice. And then for Stoichia, we have this octopus looking thing. I know that Maxime Solemn really likes this one. Then we have this like doll draw, which I'm not sure how that belongs in Stoichia, but I'll take it. We have this ghost warrior front, and then finally this beautiful looking heel trigger for Stoichia. This one is definitely really nice. They also revealed the starter for Stoichia, which is the kind of like big ugly ghosty, so that's that as well. Very nice of them to show all of those. And of course, each nation also got a few remaining cards that have not been revealed yet. So just a couple extras here and there, but I think for most of them there wasn't actually much. So for example, for Brandt Gate, they got this grade 3. So this is called the Electricity Plunder Monster Jabatel. So this guy says, when he attacks, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, this unit battles an opponent's entire column at once. So when you, for example, use him to attack the opponent's Vanguard, it also battles the Vanguard's booster at the same time. Or if you attack the opponent's rearguard, it also attacks the back row rearguard too. So this is going to be pretty pesky because your opponent will probably give up that other card because they don't want to guard against it twice. And on a Persona Ride, I mean, that's 23k as a beater, and they already have a 10k booster in Orfist, for example, that makes this into like, you know, 23, 33. So that could be pretty annoying, and they might not want to guard those other attacks. So I actually think this card might be pretty good in Orfist, you know, to just like have as a 2 of, you know, not too many copies, but still pretty good. Then for Keter Sanctuary, we got the sort of like angel lady that we saw in the first anime episode. So her name is Remission Sword Fanuel. So her skill is when she attacks, if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, count us 2, and for that battle, this unit gains critical +1. Unfortunately, it's for that battle, so that means that if you attack with her, count +2, give her the crit, and then restand her with Bastion, you'll have to count +2 again, which you probably won't have because that is very expensive. But every now and again, like if you, let's say you push your opponent to 4 and then you want to use it to like get that extra little edge, this might not be too bad. I built Bastion now with the final support, and I didn't really find space for her. The card is fine, but I'd rather Counterblast for other things in this deck, and so I don't know. It seems pretty good. It might be worth testing, but I personally didn't think that it's that impressive in Bastion, at least not for now. But again, these things might change. The builds always change over time, so don't give up on that. Keter Sanctuary also got their Blitz order, which is pretty interesting. So this is called Hopeful Testudo. This says it's a grade 3, which is also very nice. Blitz order, if you have 3 or more units, choose one of your units, and for that battle, gain plus 15k power. So this doesn't say grade 3 units, just have 3 units on the board, so Vanguard plus 2 rearguards, which is like pretty easy of a condition. However, think about the fact that against Brandt Gate, you don't want to call more than 2 cards. And so you'll never have, you know, they're going to arrest the remaining units. This will remain offline. Then against, like, you know, Eugene, they're going to be popping your stuff. You might not have those 3 units anymore. This is a dead card in hand. The Kokabiel that we looked at, the defensive grade 3, that's actually like the Angel Girl, she's still useful. She's still a 5k shield even if you have an empty board. So I don't know. This card seems alright, but I don't think you actually want to use it, at least not for the time being, because I think decks like, especially Seraph Snow, might be very popular at the start, and you don't want to just like have dead cards in hand against them, so I think it's worth keeping in mind, but not necessarily like putting it in your deck for now, but definitely pick up a few copies once it releases. Then for Stoichia, we got a grade 3 as well that says when he attacks, +1 for that turn, he gains plus 5k power. So I think this is Noble of Wisdom Edgar, so very nice name. I don't think we've had an Edgar or too many Edgars in Vanguard before, but it's pretty alright. +1 for 5k is decent. Definitely don't want to use it in like, not in Zorga, but I'm also thinking not in Magnolia because your Counterblast is already like used up on almost everything. So sadly don't think this will be played for some time. It's a little bit unfortunate, but it's still a pretty cool card that they added in regardless. So yeah, but that's actually it. That's the entire set for D-BT01, and the nice thing is I'll leave a link in the description to the Japanese product page. You can look through the entire set there. All the cards are also on deck log, which is really cool, so you can build your decks there if you speak a little bit of Japanese. And of course the tabletop plugin has also been updated as far as I know with all the cards, so you can actually be testing and playing overdress to your heart's content on tabletop. Maybe area will update as well at some point too. Don't forget, next week I actually have a proxy friendly overdress tournament for my YouTube channel members as well as the Twitch sub, so if you want to print out a 50 proxy deck for overdress, feel free to join us next week as well. That'll be very fun. But yeah, I am overall, like I've said this many times on my streams and on Twitter and everything, I am super impressed with this first set. This first set is godlike. I've never seen such a quality first set in any card game I've ever played, and there's so much depth. Like the meta is going to be so difficult to solve. There are some decks that feel better than others, but even then they have some really bad matchups at the same time. It's hard to say which deck is the best because all of them, while they have some amazing strengths, they also have some glaring weaknesses, and there are different decks that can exploit those weaknesses to different degrees as well, and that's the best part of it. Like for me, that is so cool. I think that this meta is going to be changing quite a lot, and there's going to be so much depth to it. I cannot wait for tournaments to start again. I cannot wait for Springfest. I cannot wait for like Japanese VGCSs and everything to be watching this stuff and analyzing it and talking to you about the meta. I'm gonna have deck profiles for all 10 decks, gonna be working on them over time. I'll give you some early deck lists sometime this week, but in terms of like super in-depth decks, I'm definitely gonna take my time on each deck. That way I can give you the most depth, like matchup charts and everything. There's so much I want to do for this, just for overdress, to make it so that not only you guys, the long-term viewers that want to like, you know, become the best, can get something out of it, but also those of you just getting into the game. I want to offer something for everyone, and so if you like what you see, feel free to hit that sub button as well. Anyway, y'all, thank you so much for watching. That's gonna be it for today. I really don't want to stretch out this video too long because it's a hell of a lot to edit in the end. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. We'll still be doing these overdress news videos as long as there's anything worthy to talk about. I'm assuming this week we won't get any more reveals, to be honest. Maybe we will, but I know next week we're getting some Token Rambo stuff. If it's not too much, I might wait on it a little bit, but we'll see. You know, I do like to report this kind of news to you guys as well. But anyway, enough talking. Y'all go enjoy some overdress or whatever the hell you want to do. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.